All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about one of the most famous heists in history, a crime so perfectly planned, so brilliantly executed, that it was almost flawless. But, it's that almost that makes this story so incredible.
So, I want you to picture this. It's 3 in the morning, August 8th, 1963. It's pitch black out there. A Royal Mail train is just chugging along its usual route from Glasgow to London. But then the driver, a guy named Jack Mills, sees something weird. A red light. Now, that's not supposed to be there. He knows this track should be clear, so he does what he has to do. He slams on the brakes and this massive train grinds to a halt literally in the middle of nowhere.
And here's the thing. This wasn't just carrying letters and packages. Oh no. This train was hauling a fortune. We're talking the equivalent of 67 million pounds today. 67 million, just sitting there on a train in the dark. Which of course leads to the big question, right? How on earth did anybody know that much cash was on that specific train on that specific night?
Well, that's where the plan comes in. And believe me, this was no spur-of-the-moment thing. This heist was meticulously planned for months. It was all built on some incredible inside info. Two key details, really, that created this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the robbers.
Their whole focus was on one very special part of the train, the HVP coach. That stands for high-value packages. You can basically think of it as a rolling bank vault. It's how they moved massive amounts of cash around the country. And the mastermind behind this whole thing, Bruce Reynolds, he and his crew knew exactly what was inside.
Okay, so this is where that inside man becomes so important. The gang had two game-changing tips. First, the regular HVP coach, the one with the fancy security alarms and all that, was out of commission. So they were using an old backup coach with no alarm. Can you believe that? And second, because it was right after a big bank holiday, the amount of cash on board wasn't just big, it was nearly 10 times the usual amount. This was literally the perfect storm.
So you've got the plan, you've got the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, now it's time for the heist itself. We're talking a crew of 16 guys, a signal they've tampered with, and just a whole lot of guts to even attempt something this audacious.
And they moved fast. I mean, the second that the train stopped, bam, the phone lines are cut, the train crew is totally ambushed, the driver, Jack Mills, gets hit over the head, the gang quickly unhooks the engine in the first two coaches, the ones they want, and then they make the injured driver take them about a kilometer down the track to the spot they'd picked out for their getaway.
This spot was called Brido Bridge, and this is where the real action happens. They've got the train parked perfectly over the bridge. The gang swarms the HVP coach, takes care of the staff inside, and then they form this human chain. Just imagine it. One guy to the next, passing these heavy mailbags full of cash down to a big truck waiting right underneath them.
And get this, they were on the clock. They gave themselves only 15 minutes to do the whole thing. In just 15 minutes, they moved 120 mailbags. That's over 2.5 tons of cash. I mean, the coordination is just mind-boggling.
So they did it. They actually pulled it off. The heist of this century, and nobody even fired a gun. They were home free. Or so they thought. Because right as they were about to disappear into the night, one of them says something. Just a few words. And those few words would end up being the mistake that unraveled everything.
What did he say? He turned to the poor train staff, all tied up, and yells, "Don't move for 30 minutes." He's probably thinking he's being clever, buying them some time to get away. But what he actually did was hand the police the biggest clue they could have ever hoped for.
Yeah, think about it. Why say 30 minutes? The police figured it out right away. You wouldn't tell someone to wait for 30 minutes if your hideout was an hour away, right? You'd give yourself more of a buffer. So just like that, the police knew the gang had to be hiding somewhere within a 30-minute drive. That slashed their search area down to a 50-kilometer circle around the bridge.
And smack dab in the middle of that search area was a place called Leatherslade Farm. This was the gang's hideout. And this is where the story takes a turn from a triumphant celebration to pure panic.
So, the gang is at the farmhouse, listening to the police radio, and they hear it. The news about the 50-kilometer search radius. They completely freak out. Their whole plan to lay low for a week goes out the window. They split the cash and get out of there, way ahead of schedule. They even paid some guy to go back and torch the place, get rid of all the evidence. But the guy they paid, he just took their money and didn't do it.
So, when the police, who got a tip from a local farmer, finally show up at the farmhouse, it's like an evidence goldmine. They find the empty mailbags, all the leftover food,
even the truck they used, which they'd tried to repaint. But the best part? The clue that broke the whole case open? The gang had been so bored while hiding out that they played a game of Monopoly with the real stolen cash, and in their excitement they left their fingerprints all over the board.
Now, this wasn't the gang's first rodeo. Most of them had criminal records, which meant their fingerprints were already in the police system. That Monopoly board was all they needed. The game was, quite literally, up. That one silly mistake led to arrests coming fast and furious, and that's when we start to see the real human cost of this whole thing.
And the justice system came down on them, hard. They wanted to send a message. This was being called the crime of the century, and the sentences reflected that. Most of the gang got 30 years. 30! An absolutely massive sentence.
So let's just recap the aftermath here. Out of the 16 guys in the gang, they caught 14 of them. They got their long sentences. But what about the victims? The driver, Jack Mills, he never really recovered from the head injury and the trauma of it all. He couldn't work again, and he died only 7 years later. And the one person who set this whole thing in motion, the inside man, his identity is still a complete mystery.
And that's the thing that's so wild. After more than 60 years, after all the present time served, with most of the money still missing, that one huge question mark still hangs over this entire story. Who was the inside man? Who gave them the information that made the impossible possible? That remains the single greatest unsolved mystery of the Great Train Robbery.